Just wanted to give a personal thank you from Pints for Liberty for you all coming out. As tradition is, let's raise a glass to liberty. To liberty! His senator.
I didn't really hear you. Anybody here love liberty? That's good. Anybody here want to defend privacy? Anybody here think the Patriot Act ought to go? If my voice is a little raspy, I've been talking a lot lately. Justice Brandeis said that the right to be left alone is the most cherished of rights. Some will say, well, that's not in the Constitution. It doesn't say anything about privacy. But it does. The Ninth Amendment says those rights not listed are not to be disparaged. You do have a right to privacy. You get it naturally. Many of us believe you get it from your Creator, but it's yours, and no government and no majority can take away your right to privacy. We will have a debate Sunday night. It is uncertain what the outcome will be, but I can tell you for sure what my position will be, is that I'm going to do anything and everything to make the Patriot Act go away. Some people say, well, how will we catch terrorists? One senator came up to me, a very powerful senator. We were walking along and he said, if it expires, what will happen at midnight? And I said, well, maybe we could survive with the Constitution for a few hours. The Fourth Amendment allows the government to look at records. If we think someone is a terrorist, if John Doe is thought to be a terrorist, we don't have to have convincing proof and convict him. You have to have some evidence. You put his name or her name on the warrant, some evidence, you say what you want, and you call a judge. It's what you do any night in Greenville. If someone's a murderer or a rapist or a terrorist, the police stand on the front lawn and they call a judge at 3 in the morning, and the judge almost never says no. But the reason why we separated the police power from the judiciary power is to prevent bias. There was a time in our history when people had uniform bias against certain people because of the color of their skin, or because of their ideology, or because of who they were, who their parents were, how they behaved. We got over that, but we need to be careful that that never, ever comes back.
Yeah.
That's right. You can be a minority because of the color of your skin or the shade of your ideology. Because of what you think or what you believe or where you go to church or whether you don't go to church, any of these things can make you a minority. What we want is a system where the government can't, without just cause, without probable cause, without due process, the government can't come into your house. There was a tradition that started probably about the time of the Magna Carta that a man, or now we would say a man or a woman's castle is theirs and the government is prevented from coming inside unless there's just cause. But we live in an era where we don't keep our papers in our house anymore. We keep our papers in a cloud. And I'm here to tell you that the government needs to stay out of our cloud as well. There is a growing coalition of people who want to defend the entire Bill of Rights. When we become the party and when we get a candidate who wants to defend the entire Bill of Rights, we're going to sweep America we are going to win elections like haven't been won since Reagan won 849 states. We can do it again. We're pretty good with the Second Amendment, and we shouldn't give up on it.
That's right.
But we aren't so good with some of the rest of the amendments. If you want to defend the Second Amendment, you got to believe in the First Amendment, and you got to believe in the Fourth Amendment.
That's right.
A couple years ago, you talk about records, and people say, well, I'm not sure I care about my records. Well, in Westchester County in New York, they were collecting gun records of your registration, and somebody in the newspaper got the brilliant idea that we would release this record to the public. Well, think about it. If you're a woman who's been beaten up by a boyfriend or a husband, and you don't want them to know where you live or whether you have a gun or don't have a gun. In fact, it's probably worse for them to know where you live and that you don't have a gun. If you're a judge or a prosecutor, you don't want all the criminals you put in jail to know where you live and whether you have a gun or don't have a gun. Your records are precious. They're part of you, and the government's got no business looking at your records. Some people say, well, these are just boring old business records. Who cares if the government looks at your credit card statement? If I have your credit card statement, if the government has your credit card statement, they can tell whether you drink, whether you smoke, whether you gamble, what doctors you see, what medications you take, where you go to church. All of that can show up on your credit card bill. Just your metadata. They tell us, well, metadata is no big deal. Well, one of these people I met with, a former head of one of these agencies, said, oh, well, we kill people based on metadata. Well, fortunately not Americans, not yet. That's a joke if you're with the media. But the thing is, if we're killing people, foreigners now, through metadata, they apparently think they're pretty damn certain of who they are looking for simply by their phone records. A couple of college students decided to see what they could determine just from your call records. So they put an app voluntary on the phone for 500 people and measured who they talked to and how long, but no content. 85% of the time they could tell what religion you were. Most of the time they could tell who your doctors were, what your medications were, even what procedures you were contemplating or where you were going to have something done. The thing is that what we need to tell the government is that what we do or say on our telephones is none of their damn business. If we want to be the dominant party in our country again, we got to believe in the entire Bill of Rights. The Fifth and Sixth Amendment are about justice. They're about having due process. They're about if you're accused of a crime, you get your day in a court and you get a lawyer. How important is this? Think if you were a Japanese American in the war, what happened to you? But think what could happen to you right now if you're an Arab American and you've got a cousin in Lebanon and you send an email to them. Maybe your cousin in Lebanon's involved with something, I don't know. But just because you sent them an email and they might be involved with something doesn't mean you shouldn't get your day in court. So the thing is that we need to realize that due process, the Bill of Rights, is for the least among us.
That's right.
I tell people the Bill of Rights isn't for the prom queen, or necessarily for the prom queen. The Bill of Rights is not necessarily for the high school quarterback. The Bill of Rights is for the person who looks a little different, dresses a little different, and may not get due process because they're not popular.
Waterboy.
We need to protect the Bill of Rights for everyone. The Fifth Amendment says your property can't be taken without just compensation, without due process. The government, through eminent domain, has been taking property from somebody who owns a house to give to a bigger corporation because they'll pay more taxes. The government has been taking over sometimes churches because they pay no taxes to give it to a corporation because a corporation pays more taxes. The government should never take anyone's property without due process. We have on the books something called civil asset forfeiture. You can be riding down the street and not use your blinker. You're pulled over and the government says, do you have any money? And you think, well, I'm an honest person. Yeah, I've got $1,000 and I'm going to my dentist. The government says, prove it. Prove where you got the money or we take it all. But then you say, what? Take all my money? And they say, okay, we'll split the difference. If you sign this piece of paper saying you won't sue us, we'll let you keep 500, we keep 500. Who do you think it happens to? Poor people. Disproportionately people of color. It's happening to the less advantaged. It's also happening to regular business folks. In Tewksboro, New Jersey, there was a hotel called Caswell, New Jersey, a Caswell Motel, worth $1.5 million. There have been 12 drug busts there in a 10-year period. 200,000 people stayed in the motel. The government came and confiscated the hotel. They didn't take any of the other hotels because they had liens against them. So the police actually searched which hotel was paid off and they confiscated it. It had to go all the way through the court system, hundreds of thousands of dollars for them to get the hotel back. The Hirsch brothers were selling snack food and candy and probably pretty good at it because the government took $500,000 of profit from them, held it for 3 years. It took them $100,000 to get their money back. The government should never take something from you unless you're convicted. They should never take something based on an accusation. The Sixth Amendment says that you have a right to a trial by jury. In 2011, they passed in our country a law that says that you can be indefinitely detained. And I had this debate with another senator, and I said, does that mean that an American citizen could be sent to Guantanamo Bay without a trial? And his response was, yes, if they're dangerous. I'll tell him you said that. I'm not sure it will do any good. But the thing is we can't have a system where someone can arbitrarily say, well, you don't get a trial and we're just sending you for indefinite detention. I don't know how we could do that. And the president, who would have normally objected to this when he was a senator, the president responded and said, but I'm a good man and I will never use this power. This great and awful, ominous power you've given me, I will never use it because I'm a good man. Yeah. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of the law. The law isn't about good people. The law is about preventing when bad people get in office from them doing harm or injustice. Right. Yeah. Madison described this well. What Madison said was that if government were comprised of angels, we wouldn't need restraint of government. But the thing is, government's not comprised of angels, and so we do need to restrain the power of government. Patrick Henry said this. Patrick Henry said that the Constitution is about restraining the government, not the people. I'm fully convinced, without any doubt, that this liberty movement, this huge and burgeoning liberty movement, can win back the country. I want to be part of it, and I hope you do too. Thank you.